Why you're just an exhausted employee. You feel it, don't you? That constant hum of anxiety, that dread. You chase the dream of entrepreneurship, ditching the office politics, the side hustles, the inflation squeezing every dime. You saw the Instagram laptop lifestyle, the beaches, the passive income. The reality? You're answering emails at 11 p.m. on a Saturday, still chasing invoices, practically bleeding from the neck trying to keep up. Here's the gut punch. 80% of small businesses shatter, not from a lack of cash flow, but from emotional bankruptcy. You didn't buy freedom. You bought a job where the boss is a genuine lunatic. And that lunatic? It's you. Let's get brutally honest. If you cannot step away from your business for 3 weeks, completely unplugged, and still have revenue hitting your account, you are not a CEO. You are an exhausted employee. A highly skilled technician maybe, but still just trading your time for money. If this hits home for you, drop a like. The bottom line, you are caught in a specific trap called the technician's dilemma, and it is mathematically impossible to work your way out of it. Please listen to this video until the end. Why your talent is the biggest threat to your bank account. You despise your boss. You dream of the day you can walk away, ditch the office politics, escape the endless soul-crushing meetings. You fantasize about building something yours, a side hustle that finally pops off. Maybe it's coding that game-changing SaaS. Maybe it's baking artisanal sourdough, writing that novel you can't get out of your head. You tell yourself, I'm good at this, better than anyone else in my department. If I just had the freedom, I could crush it. And right there, my friend, is where your bank account is about to take a catastrophic hit. Welcome to Audiobook Bites, where we strip down the biggest insights from game-changing books like this one into power-packed takeaways. But seriously, go grab the original book for the full deep dive. Nothing beats it. Today, we're dissecting why your talent is the biggest threat to your bank account, zeroing in on a concept the author slams home, the technician's trap. Let's define our villain. The technician. That's you if you utterly adore the craft, the actual doing of the work. You're the coding wizard who lives for elegant algorithms, the baker who finds solace in the perfect rise, the writer lost in world building. But here's the kicker. You loathe the business side. You recoil from sales calls. Marketing feels like a dirty word. Spreadsheets give you hives. You just want to create. You believe your raw talent will magically draw customers to your door, like a digital Pied Piper. But that, my friends, is the fatal assumption. This book eviscerates that myth. Being an absolute ninja at your skill, whether it's software architecture or crafting custom jewelry, is miles, light years away from building a viable, profitable business that sells that skill. Your talent is your superpower in the job, but it becomes your kryptonite in the market. The author's point, while brutally direct, shatters a lot of hopeful illusions. You've convinced yourself that skill equals success, and the book demolishes that equation. Think about it. You're a senior software engineer. You've weathered countless rounds of corporate BS, navigated shifting priorities, probably got passed over for that promotion last quarter despite pulling double duty. Inflation is eating your paycheck. Your side project, that brilliant SaaS idea, starts to feel like the only escape. Then it happens. That moment, the seizure. You march in, tell your boss where to stick his TPS reports, and swan dive into full-time entrepreneurship. It's exhilarating, a rush of pure, unadulterated freedom. But here's the brutal reality. You didn't quit your boss. You just fired yourself from being an employee and immediately hired yourself as a CEO, a sales lead, a marketing director, a CFO, and, yes, still a technician. And you instantly became a worse boss than the one you just escaped. You now have 5 new bosses, all of whom are you, and only one of them, the technician, actually enjoys his job. The rest are completely untrained and resentful. This is the pie shop paradox. We've all seen it. the most incredible baker in town, whose croissants melt in your mouth, whose pies are legendary. They finally open their own shop. Everyone cheers. Then, 6 months later, it's boarded up. Why? Because the owner, that phenomenal baker, spent 100% of their time perfecting recipes and 0% on sourcing ingredients efficiently, managing staff, negotiating leases, or, God forbid, marketing those heavenly pastries beyond a few regulars. They loved to bake, not to run a business. Their superior talent accelerated their bankruptcy because they poured all their energy into the doing, not the selling. It's the same story with our senior software engineer. They launched their SaaS, sure, but then they spent 100% of their precious runway coding new features, tweaking the UI, optimizing for performance, all the things they loved. They believed if the product was perfect, customers would just appear. 0 time on sales funnels, 0 time on customer acquisition strategies, 0 time learning to sell what they built. So they coded themselves right out of cash, eventually running out of runway, that brilliant project collecting digital dust. The talent wasn't enough. It was the focus on the talent, to the exclusion of everything else, that drove the project into the ground. If this just hit home for you, maybe drop a like, because the world doesn't pay you for how good you are at your craft. It pays you for how well you can sell what you're good at. And often, the better you are at the craft, the more you resist learning the messy, uncomfortable business of selling it. You retreat to your comfort zone, your passion, and in doing so, you strangle your business before it can even breathe. To fix this, you have to split your brain into 3 distinct personalities that hate each other. The 3-headed monster strategy: how to fire yourself. You started this thing to gain freedom. Now you're its slave. You dreamed of being your own boss, calling your own shots. But lately, you just feel buried under a mountain of tasks, constantly reacting, never truly leading. You're trapped in the day-to-day grind, just barely keeping your head above water. That internal tug of war, that frantic scramble, it's not just you. This audiobook unmasks your biggest enemy, a 3-headed monster that lives right inside your head. We're talking about your internal entrepreneur, your manager, and your technician. And trust me, if you don't tame these 3, your business, your side hustle, even your career path, it's all going to implode. First, let's decode these personalities. The entrepreneur. This is your inner visionary, the dreamer, the one who ignites the idea, sees the bigger picture, charts the course, and chases that wild, impossible goal. They live in the future. They thrive on innovation. They're the one who thought, I can build something better. Then you've got the manager. This is your internal organizer. They build the systems, create the schedules, track the metrics, and ensure everything runs like a well-oiled machine. They demand order. They crave efficiency. They live in the past and the present, constantly refining. And finally, the technician. This is the doer, the one who executes the tasks, cranks out the work, solves the immediate problems. They're happiest when their hands are on the tools, immersed in the actual doing. They live purely in the present, obsessed with getting it done. Here's the brutal truth. The author here asserts that most of us, especially when we start out, are wildly unbalanced. We're typically 10% entrepreneur, 20% manager, and a staggering 70% technician. Think about it. You're doing all the time. You're reacting all the time. You rarely plan, and you almost never dream. Picture Maria. She's crushing it with her Etsy store, making handcrafted jewelry. Her entrepreneur sparked the idea. Her technician produces incredible pieces. But every time she sits down to plan her inventory for Q4, or reconcile her books, or research new marketing channels, it feels like she's slacking. It doesn't feel like real work. That's the technician screaming, "Get back to making!" Meanwhile, her neglected manager is quietly recoiling, leading to chaotic tax seasons and missed opportunities. If that hits home for you, drop a like. This imbalance shatters your growth. It's why so many small business owners become schizophrenic business owners. You have these manic highs when an idea ignites you. That's your entrepreneur bursting out. Then you crash into depressive lows when the endless doing suffocates you. That's your technician burning out and your manager nowhere to be found. You're constantly yanked between the excitement of what could be and the drudgery of what must be done. So, what's your move? How do you rebalance? You have to force yourself to play the manager. This isn't optional. You must schedule hat time. Literally block out non-negotiable hours in your week where you are only the manager. No doing, no dreaming, just planning, systemizing, optimizing. You don't feel like reviewing your quarterly spending? Too bad. Your manager needs that hour. You'd rather just make more widgets? Nope. Your manager has a meeting about workflow efficiencies. You disrupt your impulse to just do the work. You demand that the manager gets the space and time to build the systems that will eventually liberate the technician. It feels counterintuitive. It feels like you're not working. But by actively managing, you're slowly, deliberately firing yourself from the job of doing everything. You're building the pathways for others to step in, or at least for you to step back into the visionary role. Once you balance these personalities, you need a blueprint. And ironically, the best blueprint comes from McDonald's. The $100 million franchise prototype, even if you hate chains. You started that side hustle because you wanted freedom, right? Or maybe you're already deep in a business, busting your tail, always the bottleneck. Here's a tough question, but it's crucial. What if you could clone your business 5,000 times? Not just once, but 5,000. That's the mindset shift you need to make. This isn't about selling out to corporate overlords. It's about designing your business as if it were a high-value franchise prototype. A blueprint so clear, so robust, that anyone, and I mean anyone, could run it anywhere. The brutal truth here, the one that shatters most small business dreams, is what we call the bus hit rule. If you, the brilliant founder, the visionary leader, got hit by a bus tomorrow, would your business survive? Would it continue to operate, to generate income, to serve its customers without you? If the honest answer is no, then I'm sorry, but you don't own a business. You own a really demanding, high-paying job that you can never truly leave. And frankly, that's worthless when it comes to long-term wealth building. Now, here's where the author truly pushes the envelope, and honestly, it's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of us. We're constantly told to hire rock stars, to chase unicorns, to find those extraordinary, brilliant people. We spend a fortune on recruitment, on retention, but the message here? Stop looking for geniuses. Seriously, stop hunting for extraordinary. Instead, build systems so bulletproof, so utterly foolproof, that the most ordinary person, the lowest cost labor, as the author bluntly calls them, can execute them flawlessly. Think about that genius consultant you know. Brilliant, right? A true rainmaker. But the moment they're out sick for a week, their entire agency grinds to a halt. Projects stall, deadlines loom, revenue stops cold. And the pressure? It crushes everyone else, sparking office politics as folks scramble to cover or point fingers. You're left paying salaries while income flatlines. In an economy battered by inflation, that's a death sentence for your margins, for your peace of mind. Your dream side hustle suddenly feels like a trap. Now, picture the agency built on bulletproof systems. The founder takes a sabbatical for 3 months, no drama, because every single client onboarding, every social media post, every project handoff, every how to open the store process is detailed in a clear, accessible manual, not some dusty binder, but a living, digital playbook. It's not about relying on an employee's memory or their gut feeling. It's about a clear, visual, step-by-step guide. Entry-level staff can execute flawlessly. The business hums along, generating profit, freeing up the owner, not just from daily tasks, but from the anxiety of being irreplaceable. The bottom line, systems liberate you. Relying on individual brilliance imprisons you. If that scenario hits home for you, drop a like. But a system is useless if it's stagnant. You need the 3-step cycle that makes growth inevitable. The innovation cycle. You're tired of feeling like you're constantly putting out fires, right? Juggling work, maybe a side hustle, every gas price hike tightening the squeeze. You know there's a better way to tackle your projects, your team's output, even your own damn schedule. But somehow, creative chaos always wins. We call it that to make it sound productive. It isn't. This book slashes through that self-deception. It argues the antidote isn't more brainstorming sessions or a new ping pong table. It's a brutal 3-part cycle: innovation, quantification, orchestration. Forget your fuzzy notions of innovation. This process shatters them. First up, innovation. The author doesn't care about your flashy new product idea. That's likely just distraction. True innovation, the kind that moves the needle on your P&L, isn't inventing something new. It's discovering a better, more efficient way to do an existing task. Think about it: a faster onboarding process, a smarter way to route customer calls, a cleaner method for tracking inventory. You probably already know a dozen tasks you could tweak. That's where you start. Next, and this is where most companies trip and fall, quantification. The author is merciless here, and frankly, he's right. If you can't measure the dollar impact of your innovation, it didn't happen. Period. Full stop. No participation trophies, no feel-good metrics. Did this new process save you X dollars in wasted time? Did it generate Y dollars in new revenue? Can you prove it with hard numbers? If not, it's just an expensive hobby. If this hits home for you, drop a like. Can you truly quantify the actual dollar impact of that brilliant new system your team implemented last quarter? Then comes the real gut punch: orchestration. This is the absolute most painful part. It's forcing everyone, to do it the new, quantified way. Every single time, no exceptions. This step isn't just hard. It's where those innovations typically die a slow, bureaucratic death. Why? Because the enemy is discretion. The author hammers this point home. Allowing employees or even yourself to wing it, that erodes profits, it gut punches consistency, and it demolishes any hope of predictable margins. Think about your sales team, a group of reps adapting their pitch on the fly versus a team locked into a scripted, quantified funnel that predicts revenue with terrifying accuracy. Which one do you bet on, especially when inflation is eating into every profit point? That desire to wing it often stems from office politics or maybe a subtle resistance to accountability. Perhaps it's an unconscious effort to save energy for that exhausting side hustle, fueled by today's economy. But whatever the reason, discretion kills efficiency. It's a cancer that spreads, creating inconsistencies, making forecasting impossible, and ultimately ensuring your innovations are nothing more than good intentions. You need to enforce the system rigorously, mercilessly. Now, before you buy this book, we need to address the BS filter. There are parts of this text that haven't aged well. Where this book fails. You're hustling, burning the midnight oil on that side gig, or maybe just battling inflation at the grocery store. You pick up a business book, hoping for gold, not glitter. But let's be real, some advice just clunks. It lands with the grace of a dropped wrench in an empty warehouse. This book, it delivers, but it also steps in it, deep. We're firing up the BS filter today. This is the 2024 audit, Where This Book Fails. First, let's talk about Sarah. Oh, Sarah, the author's go-to fictional employee. Honestly, this narrative crashes and burns hard. Every interaction with her, it grates. It's a masterclass in condescension. Sarah is consistently portrayed as clueless, needing constant paternalistic guidance. You know the drill. The author, as the all-knowing guru, patiently explains simple concepts to poor, befuddled Sarah, over and over. Here's the kicker. It's not just annoying, it's genuinely sexist. This is 1980s franchise logic crammed into a 2024 AI startup world. This portrayal of a female employee as perpetually naive and incapable, it's painful to read. It doesn't just miss the mark, it annihilates any claim to modern management wisdom. If you're a woman in business, reading this will likely make your teeth ache. If you're a man, it should still make you squirm. Nobody needs that kind of demeaning dialogue. It's a serious flaw that actively detracts from the book's core messages. So when you encounter a Sarah dialogue section, do yourself a favor. Skip it. Seriously, your commute is too short for that kind of eye-roll material. Now, let's pivot to the book's second big miss, the McDonald's obsession. The author champions the idea of systematizing everything, creating ironclad processes and standardizing roles. And yes, for certain businesses, like a fast food chain, this shatters inefficiency. It's brilliant for consistency and scalability. But here's where the model breaks. Applying that exact same blueprint to, say, a high-expertise firm, a cutting-edge AI development shop, a complex legal practice, or a high-end design agency, it backfires spectacularly. You cannot fully dumb down the work of a senior software architect like you would a burger flipper. Expecting your lead data scientist to follow a script as rigid as a McDonald's fry station manual, that chokes innovation. It crushes creativity. It eviscerates morale. Your senior engineers, your top designers, your seasoned lawyers, they are problem solvers. They thrive on autonomy, on wrestling with ambiguity, on applying nuanced judgment. You can't just stamp out their roles like identical cookie cutters. Trying to box in that level of expertise with hyper-rigid systems, you'll hemorrhage talent faster than you can say McNugget. The nuance is vital here. You can and should apply the principle of systems, design repeatable processes for onboarding, for project kickoffs, for client communication, standardize your tools. But you cannot treat your senior engineers or your creative directors like fry cooks. That's a recipe for disaster in the modern economy. You hire them for their brains, their unique skills, their ability to think. Don't then strip them of that power. If this hits home for you, drop a like. We're all trying to navigate office politics and drive growth without turning our teams into robots. So how do you read this book then? Simple. Skip the excruciating fictional dialogue. It's a minefield of dated thinking. Instead, devour the frameworks. Extract the system-building principles. Apply the concepts to your business or your side hustle, but always, always with a critical lens. Adapt, don't adopt blindly. The foundational ideas about creating repeatable systems, those resonate. They hold power. But the packaging, it often falls flat. So, is this the Bible of business or an outdated manual? Here is the final verdict. Buy, borrow, or burn. You're still stuck in the weeds, right? Drowning in details. If so, this book is an absolute buy. Essential. It demolishes the myth that skill guarantees business success. Here's the kicker. For technicians, brilliant designers, coders, plumbers, dreaming of their own venture, or first-time founders, this unlocks your next level. It's your roadmap from doing everything to designing everything. Now, let's get controversial. Seasoned CEOs, you might borrow this. It's foundational, but even you can extract fresh system perspectives. Don't dismiss basics. The one big thing, the ultimate takeaway that shatters limitations, work on your business, not in it. This isn't just a phrase, it's your liberation. Forget office politics, sidestep inflation anxiety, scale that side hustle. You cannot scale by just working harder. You need a system. Here's what you can do today. Don't just absorb, act. Pick one messy process in your life, desktop organizing, breakfast prep, map it. Write a simple checklist. You'll transform from busy to effective, starting now. If this hits home, ready to build your machine? Drop a like. Imagine those founders, the mechanic who built a franchise, the programmer who scaled an empire. They mastered this pivot.